Hare Krishna. So are we waiting for the devotees to come and then, or how many devotees you wait until you start?
No, Prabhuji, we can start. Prabhuji, Mataji has already joined.
Okay, yeah, Mataji is here. So Hare Krishna will welcome all the devotees, and we especially welcome Her Grace Kasturika Mataji with us today. And there's a short introduction about her, so everyone can be aware of her glories. So Kasturika Mataji has been a full-time devotee in ISKCON since 2013. She was born in India. She completed her university education with a master in biotechnology and first met devotees during her master's through college preaching in Melbourne, Australia, 2009. Soon later, she joined the Brahmacharini Ashram at ISKCON Melbourne. Few years of distributing books there, she moved to India, and since 2016, she has been doing book distribution, serving in Matches Bookshop. After an inauguration of International Bookshop in ISKCON Vrindavan, she takes care of both the shops under Mother Devi Shakti, who is a Prabhupada disciple. And currently, she's at the edge. I think not at the edge. She has completed her Bhakti Vedanta. Only her dissertation is just missing for few time. That it will be submitted soon. And she also does college preaching in Vrindavan, different medical, BTech colleges, management institutes. So she's a powerful preacher as well. And I had the fortune of being with her in Bhaktivedanta College, this Bhaktivedanta course in VIH 2020, the module 1. And both Prabhupada Mataji, Prabhupada Priya Mataji, and Kasturika Mataji, we were in the same batch. So I had the fortune of being with them with their thoughtful questions, active participation, and their wisdom and insight on different themes of discussion in the Bhagavatam. And as far as I know Mataji, she's a full-time book distributor, and her life and soul is distributing Srila Prabhupada books. Their bookshop has a notice that the books open. This shop opens at 7:30 a.m. in the morning. But if you have a query or you want a book, you can call at any time. So the bookshop has a notice that you can get the book at this time. The bookshop has a time, but she doesn't have any time to sell the books. Just a minute.
Abu, maybe you're
Yeah,
pulling
I think
my leg too
you
much.
had a notice earlier, right?
Maybe you should stop here. Please
So
don't pull my leg anymore.
The shop has
It's
a
very
time, but
embarrassing.
he doesn't have a time to sell the books. So you can contact any time, and they will respond to you.
May your words come true. I'm not up to that point. May your words come true.
And in Marathon,
please
she
don't
doubles
pull
her
my leg
service,
anymore.
7:30 a.m. in the morning till 9:30 p.m. She's there in the book center, the bookshop,
Thank
on
you.
an outlet, on a stall,
aspire for
distributing
it.
books, pushing everyone to buy the book in Vrindavan. And yeah, so we have a fortune of her.
Are we doing a comedy session here? Are we doing a comedy session or a serious study? What are we doing?
So yeah, it's not a comedy, Mataji. Yeah, we just wanted to let other devotees know that. And recently, I got my Spanish Bhagavad Gita.
You can pull my leg, but not like this. Not in the forum. No, you can't pull my leg like this.
So yeah, we are so fortunate to have such an inspiring book distributor with us. So today we'll start with Mataji's session. She'll be taking this unit and the unit 18 and 17 together. So yeah, thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to today's session. Thank you to Rasala Prabhu and Sita Rani Mataji and Rukmini for encouraging me to come before you and speak. And along with the sharing, I'm also learning. I'm also still a student. So it's a very nice platform to come together and learn, go deep in Bhagavatam. And whatever Rasala Prabhu said, half of it is false. But I pray that, all his words come true, that I will aspire for it. One day I will become a good servant in book distribution. So we'll do some kirtan just for 5 minutes, so that, and then we will start into today's session. It's okay, Mataji, 5 minutes of kirtan?
Yes, Mataji. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jayo Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Jayo Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Yashodanandana Bhaja Ranjana, Yashodanandana Bhaja Ranjana, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jaya Vrindavanam, Jaya Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Lalita Vishnu Jaya Radhe Shyam, Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Jam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivarajacharya Ashtotra Sat Sri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivarajacharya Ashtotra Sat Sri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anant Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai. Panchakalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaः. Welcome everyone, and once again I thank the Rohini Temple Institute of Education for giving me this opportunity. So today we are going to discuss chapter 13 and 14. We will have a 10-minute break after the chapter 13, and then we'll come back and continue with chapter 14. And at all times, you can raise your hand if you have any doubts or anything that you want to offer to the class. You're most welcome to do so. Also, we want to keep the session a little bit interactive so that, we will be learning from each other, and also it will be engaging for everyone. Is that okay? So before we start, I just wanted to recite prayers to Srimad Bhagavatam, and then we'll start the class. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Everyone can see my screen? Yes?
Yes, Maji.
Okay. This is the Krishna Lila Stava prayers by Srila Sanatana Goswami, who is glorifying Srimad Bhagavatam. Sarva Shastrapti Piyusha, Sarva Vedaika Satfala, Sarva Siddhanta Ratnatya, Sarva Lokaika Drikpadam, Sarva Bhagavata Prana, Srimad Bhagavata Prabhu, Kalida Vonte Daditya, Sri Krishna Parivartita. O Srimad Bhagavatam, O nectar churned from the ocean of all Vedic scriptures, you are the most prominent transcendental fruit of the Vedas and are enriched with the jewel of all philosophical conclusions. You grant spiritual vision to all the people of the world, and you are the very life breath of the Vaishnava devotees. O Lord, you are the sun which has arisen to dispel the darkness of Kali Yuga. Actually, you are Lord Krishna who has written among us. Paramananda Patyaya Prema Varshaksharaya Te Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Sri Krishnaya Namostute. O Srimad Bhagavatam, I offer respectable obeisances unto you. By your recitation, one attains transcendental bliss because your syllables shower down pure love of God. You are to be served by everyone always, for you are an incarnation of Lord Krishna. Madeka bandhu matsangin madguru manmahadana mannistaraka madbhagya madananda namostute. O Srimad Bhagavatam, O my only friend, my companion, and my teacher, O my great wealth and deliverer, O my good fortune and bliss, I offer respectable obeisances unto you. Asadu sadhu tadayini yati nichochata kara hana muchakata chinmam premahrit kantayospura. O Srimad Bhagavatam, O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O uplifter of the most fallen, please never leave me, accompanied by the pure love of Krishna. Please manifest yourself in my heart and truth. Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavatsa sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhakti bhavati naishtaki. Om ajnanatimrandasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Jayo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we are starting with chapter 13, description of the descendants of Dhruva Maharaj. Any remembrances from chapter 12? How did chapter 12 end? So that, we can refresh. I'll just be off the screen for 1 second, if you don't mind, but I'm listening. Yeah, I'm sorry for that. So any remembrances from chapter 12? What happened in chapter 12? Amarendra Hari Prabhu, yes, please.
Yeah, simple, very general.
Hari Prabhu? Hare Krishna, I missed you.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Am I audible, Mataji?
Yes, yes, you're breaking, but you're audible. Please continue, Prabhu.
Okay. So after returning from forest, when Maharaj grew up become king, so once his younger brother goes to Himalaya for and he fight with Yakshas and Yakshas kill them. So he become very angry and he goes to Himalaya and start fighting with Yakshas and he killed so many Yakshas. So, so many Yakshas he killed. Then his grandfather, Swambhu Manu, comes and he asked him to stop the fight because one Yaksha has killed your younger brother and you are killing so many Yakshas. So it was very nice story. Then he stopped fighting with Yakshas. Then Yakshraj Kuber came there and he was very happy with him that you stopped your fighting and you have given your anger by order of your grandfather. So please ask anything. So he asked pure devotion service to him and he gives him benediction.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Prabhu. That's like a complete refresh button on the entire Dhruva's pastime. It was very nice. Thank you. And any remembrances, anything else that you want to add to Prabhu's points? Anyone remembers the Falashruti of listening to Dhruva's pastime? You can look into the book. It can be an open book, no problem. Do you remember anything from the Falashruti? What was Maitreya Muni was glorifying? Or Narad Muni? No, Maitreya Muni, right? Maitreya Muni.
Hello, Mataji.
Yes, please go ahead. Sorry, I didn't see your hand. Sorry. Yes.
Anyone who hears the narration of Dhruv Maharaj and who repeatedly tries with faith and devotion to understand his pure devotion character attains the pure devotional platform and executes pure devotional service. By such activities, one can diminish the threefold miserable conditions of material life.
Nice. So that is some Falashruti. Anything more to add to it? Anyone wants to add a little bit more? Yes, Lakshmi Mahesh Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare
It
Krishna.
says that one becomes free from sin, reduce the material miseries, and attain the exalted qualities, and also the sublime knowledge for the attainment of immortality. And one more thing, Mataji, I want to add that it was like when Dhruv Maharaj was offered the spiritual abode, he wanted his mothers to come along. And that was a very nice thing to remember from this pastime.
Yeah, he's showing gratitude to his mother, like because his mother was acting as a
spiritual master.
Yes, yes, she acted as a spiritual master, directing towards Krishna. So he wanted to show his gratitude to help her in her spiritual, way to back to Godhead. That's very nice. Thank you. So in this chapter, as we see the title as the descriptions of the descendants of Dhruv Maharaj, so there is a lot of weightage on the Dhruv Maharaj, right? Becoming a descendant of Dhruv Maharaj is it itself is saying that you carry a responsibility. Like when we represent a parampara, that actually holds that we have to carry that weight, that has the weightage in our lives. Because of the parampara, we actually are glorified. By ourselves, we don't carry any glory. But because of the heritage that is already there, we're glorified. So, and also the interesting part here is, throughout the fourth canto, we will go through different character portrayals. That means we will be studying their characters. How are they shaping their back to Godhead process? How are they materially situated? How are they spiritually situated? This is what is, that is what we will be observing. We will come across Utkala, we'll come across Anga, we'll come across King Vena, we'll come across King Prithu, right? And the Queen Archie. So in all these characters, we are going to see how they're shaping their Krishna consciousness and what makes them to be a better devotee and what makes them not to be a devotee. So just by studying the character portrayals, what happens, we get inspiration in our bhakti, right? We get inspiration in our bhakti. So here the chapter begins with Vidura's question. So what we will do is, we will read the first verse and the translation, and then the rest of the verses we will do the translations alone. Is that okay?
Yes, mother.
So maybe I'll open the Veda base so that, you know, everyone can be focused on the screen itself. I don't need to go here and there. Just 1 second, sorry. Should have opened this before. 21. Right. Screen. So can anyone recite the first verse? Please.
Chapter 13, Description of the Descendants of Dhruva Maharaj. Text 1. Suta Uvacha Nishamya Kausharavino Pavarnitam Dhruvasya Vaikuntha Padadhirohanam Prarudha Bhavo Bhagavatya Dhukshaje Prashthum Punastam Viduram Prachakrame. Suta Goswami, continuing to speak to all the rishis, headed by Shaunaka, said, after hearing Maitreya Rishi describe Dhruva Maharaj's ascent to Lord Vishnu's abode, Vidur became very much enlightened in devotional emotion, and he inquired from Maitreya as follows.
Yes, so thank you, Mataji. So here, what is happening in the first section is Vidura's inquiry. Vidura became very curious. Now, what is the link between chapter 12 and chapter 13? One is that we will be seeing the genealogy of the Dhruva Maharaj descendants. That's one. And second, Vidura wants to know, like Vidura was inquiring about prachetas initially. And this is where during the sacrifice happening at this prachetas, this is where Maitreya Muni was speaking about Dhruva Maharaj glories. Now he wants to know who are prachetas. Now he was first of all enlightened by Dhruva Maharaj that he's going back home, back to Godhead at a very young age with so much achievements. And the second, he was also having furthermore queries. And you will see in the purport, as evidenced in the topics between Vidura and Maitreya, the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and devotees are so fascinating that neither the devotee who is describing them nor the devotee who is hearing is at all fatigued by inquiries and answers. So Vidura is showing curiosity. He's not showing any fatigue. He wanted to know more about Dhruva Maharaj, know more about the descendants of Dhruva Maharaj. And because of that curiosity, he started to ask Maitreya Muni. Now, Prabhupada is saying that anyone who is engaged to hear about Krishna and his devotee, they never become satiated. Why? The transcendental subject matter is so nice that no one becomes tired of hearing or speaking. Others who are not devotees may think, how can people devote so much time simply to talks of God? But devotees are never satisfied or satiated in hearing and speaking about the Supreme Personality of Godhead or about his devotees. The more they hear and talk, the more they become enthusiastic to hear. The chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra is simply the repetition of the three words, Hare, Krishna and Rama. But still devotees can go on chanting this Hare Krishna mantra 24 hours a day without feeling fatigue. So this is a character of a pure devotee. And Vidura is showing that characteristics of how he is qualified to be a pure devotee. He's not satiated to listen more about the devotees, to listen more about the pastimes of the Lord and his interactions with the devotees. Now here, we'll do a small interactive session. So how many of you get tired or fatigue or not, like for you, the hearing is not continuous? How many of you go through that? Or how many of you are curious all the time? Both ways. How many of you are always curious, and how many of you have troubles in the path of hearing and chanting? Maybe you can raise your hands. I am one, first one. I am not very curious, but I fall in the second category. I become very, it's not it becomes satiated for me. Curious in hearing, bad at chanting. Okay, that's nice. That's very nice. Yes, Ramananda Das, Prabhu. You become.
Yes, I am. No, I am not curious. I am fall in second category.
You fall in the second category. Okay. Lakshmi Mahesh Lakshmi Mataji?
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, your mic is off. Second category. Ganga Shakti Mataji is in second category. Okay, so how many of us we want to come to the first category? Yeah, almost. We all want to come to the first category. So now what I want you to do is give yourself some time, like a minute or two. Think of what are some of the obstacles that stop us to become curious. Write down in your book that what are some of the obstacles that we face that we are not so curious as what Vidura is here displaying. Is everyone ready? Okay, Rukmini Mataji, what are some of the obstacles?
Mataji, I feel that I'm curious all the time to hear, but I'm pathetic chanter. So when I talk between the class, I switched off my camera and I do something else. So if I talk to someone,
so basically you're distracted.
Yes. If I'm distracted, then I'm not able to catch because I'm very less intelligent. But when I'm here, my camera is on and I'm just listening very carefully, then I can grasp.
So distraction, we will say in simplified, it's the distraction. That is your obstacle. Okay. Thank you, Mataji. Raya Ramananda Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji. One of the obstacles that I am facing for not curious about hearing is that the laziness, and second one is the material attachment or material propensity, due to which I'm not so much curious for hearing.
So we have distraction in the list. Now we have laziness and then material attachments. Okay. Thank you, Prabhu. Ganga Shakti Mataji.
Mataji, my realization is that we hear enough, then we become more curious. So it's like a cycle. The more we hear, the more curious we become. Because I never hear enough, therefore I'm not curious. Because there's nothing to be curious about. Only when I know the subject matter will I become a little curious about it. So I think it's like a cycle. We are stuck in that.
Okay, so the enough dosage is not there. Yes, enough amount of dosage is not there. Anyone else they want to share some of the obstacles that you face? Why are we not so curious as Vidura? Yes, Ganga Shakti Mataji.
Mataji, also the mood to hear. Most of the time, my mood to hear is only because I'm supposed to, or what else will I do? I have to, I better hear. But the mood is not to hear, to move up, to rise above, my existing level. The mood is missing, I feel.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, the mood. Yeah, the proper setting of the proper mood is needed. Priya Satyabhama Mataji.
I think, Mataji, our own lack of zeal and vigor, our own interests, that whether are we interested in listening, do we want to know something more or not? Are we interested in knowing more? I think that also contributes to a very big factor of trying to hear more and learn more and ask more questions.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Anyone else wants to contribute? So we also need to understand, thank you so much. So some of the what can be some of the solutions for this? Like how can we aspire for better hearing, better chanting? How can we aspire? What will be some practical solutions which are doable? Not something in the air, but something doable. What can be some of them? What can work for you? How would you avoid distraction? How would you avoid laziness? How would you, increase your mood? Yes, Priya Satyabhama Mataji.
Sorry, Mataji.
No
So I
problem.
think, Mataji, what works for me is two things that I've done is, one is I've made a routine that if I am doing my data surface in the morning, I have to listen to a class. If I'm not able to finish during that, I make sure that I finish it. I finish that class. So being regular with it, okay, this is the time to read and this is the time to listen to class and nothing else. That has really helped me. That has actually made me so regular that since Canto 8, I'm listening to Vrindavan classes and whatever is going on, I'm still at it. So that has helped me a lot. And second is being at it. You want to, you don't want to, you feel like, you don't feel like. Even if you are half-hearted, you listen to it. If not 100%, something will go in your mind. Something will, get stuck in your heart. So at least, if not everything, you at least got something. So just being at it. Ki karna hai to karna hai. You have to do it, so you have to do it. So these two things have worked for me.
Thank you, Mataji. That's very insightful and very helpful.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Yes, Anandalila Mataji.
Yeah, I would like to add, I think to keep association with those kind of people who hear more, when we actually are, I mean, it helped me when I am
Can you
with those.
Can you quote a verse from the third canto that you just finished?
No, sorry, I can't. I can't quote a verse.
But you were right. You're right. The Kapila Dev says to Devahuti, we have to keep in the association of the devotees, and that will help us. Anyone else can quote? Satam prasangam mama virya samvido. Remember?
Yeah. So that has helped me to actually give me that boost. Yes, like okay, the people, the devotees who are around me, if they are reading and when we are discussing, if they say something that something discussion which comes out and then they refer that to the shastra, so that gives me more boost, kind of that, oh yeah, I mean, I should also get into regularity, because often for me it's like, if my close by people are doing, then that kind of gives that impetus to do it somehow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So find a good association who can help you in hearing, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
help you, inspire you in the hearing. Wonderful.
Yeah.
And any other solutions? Yes, Ganga Shakti Mataji.
Mataji, maintaining a daily log or journal of what you hear is also very helpful because for like I am incapable of paying attention to anything if I'm not doing something. So I have to engage, at multi levels, engage myself at multi levels. So if I'm hearing and I don't write down what I hear, then I won't be able to ever recall it later. But when I write, somehow, if not all, something from each lecture definitely sticks in the mind. So I found that to be a good exercise, that you note down at least whatever you understand from the lecture, and then it stays with you.
Very nice. Yeah, like always, at least have some notes done for the listening part you have done. Anyone else? There's so many devotees in the group. I want everyone to be participating. Please, would be nice to hear from the ones who haven't shared so far. Anyone? Rukmini?
Mataji, these spiritual courses helps me to hear.
Right.
It gives me enthusiasm that whenever I find the like-minded devotees and the association of devotees, my enthusiasm for hearing increases. And if I know that I will be able to hear from the exalted Vaishnavas, I'm getting their association, so I feel so good. So it gives me enthusiasm.
Yes, enrolling ourselves in the academic courses, spiritual academic courses. Very nice. Lakshmi Mataji?
Mataji, similar to as Mataji said, to enroll in the such kind of spiritual courses. And if someone is, keeping check and balance, like if someone say that you have to read this chapter and, tomorrow we are going to test from this, or tomorrow we are going to have interaction, I mean, from our question answer session from particular chapters, or, from this lecture, then I feel that I'll be more attentive to in hearing that session. So, to be able to answer and to be able to understand and to share, to contribute in the class.
I also, that's very nice. Thank you. Like to share, to contribute, and, to listen. It all helps. I was also thinking practical service will also helps us to become more, it develops that sukriti to hear, It is mentioned in the Canto 1. Do you remember any shloka with the, service to the devotees, and an active service will help? Shushusho Shraddhanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi. What's next?
Vasudeva Kataruchi. Syan Mahat
Sevaya Vipra
Punya Shravan
Kirtana. Yes, practical service. If we are engaged in devotional service practically, that will also help. And also another way is also that, not to beat up ourselves, but actually give ourselves some time. Because, we all have different capacities. We all have anarthas that we have to deal with. And also ensuring that, we are not committing any further offenses, becoming mindful not to commit offenses. Because by committing offenses, it affects us not to hear properly. Have you noticed? When you commit offense, your sadhana like drops. It really drops. This is actually a visible mark for us to see that, when we are not doing well in our sadhana. I mean, it could be plenty of reasons, because of the health or because of the work, everything. But this is also an indicator that, we are offensive in mentality. That will also drop our sadhana. So just like Vidura, we also want to be curious. We want to learn to be curious and engaged in Krishna's service. So we will continue reading chapter 30. Now we'll just read only the translations. because we don't have so much time. Yeah. Okay, let's go. Okay, so what is Vidura speaking in the verse 2? Vidura inquired from Maitreya, O greatly advanced devotees, who were Prachetas? To which family did they belong? Whose sons were they? And where did they perform the great sacrifices? So Vidura was inquiring, his inquiry goes on, and he's asking about Prachetas, because he heard the 3 verses of the chapter 12, 41, 42, 43. The glories of the Dhruva Maharaj were sung in the sacrificial arena of the Prachetas. And Maitreya Muni was explaining this to Vidura, and then Vidura became curious to know who are Prachetas. Then Vidura continued, I know that the great sage Narada is greatest of all devotees. He has compiled the Pancharatrika procedure of devotional service, and he has directly met the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we know in ISKCON, we follow both 2 parallel lines. One is the Bhagavat Marg and then the Pancharatrika Marg. These both are very much necessary because Pancharatrika Vidhi brings us, it purifies us. It helps us to become more personal towards Krishna. It helps us to engage in, it gives us active engagement of our senses. Whereas the Bhagavad Vidhi is the 9 processes of the Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, I missed Sakyam, Dasyam, and Atmanivedanam. I think I missed one, isn't it?
Archanam.
Archanam, right. Thank you so much. Yes. So the Krishna conscious movement, Prabhupada has made in such a way that, both the lines are very much important. We follow the Pancharatrika Vidhi system and as well as the Bhagavad Gita Vidhi system. And Pancharatrika Vidhi, we should not be neglecting, because this is given from the Acharyas, right? Some people have a very low understanding that, okay, if we do only Shravanam and Kirtanam, that is enough. That is definitely enough when we are really purified and on our exalted position. But when we are in the beginning stages of our bhakti, Pancharatrika Vidhi helps us to regulate and become more sattvic, and also helps us to come closer to Krishna. So we should never neglect the Pancharatrika Vidhi system. Then 4. While all the Prachetas were executing religious rituals and sacrificial ceremonies, and thus worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead for his satisfaction, the great sage Narada described the transcendental qualities of Dhruva Maharaj. Now, it's a little bit flashback. How what is happening? When did the Narada Muni go when he recited about Dhruva Maharaj glorification? So here the Prachetas are engaged in devotional service. They are engaged in different sacrificial ceremonies, and in that arena, Narada Muni was glorifying Dhruva Maharaj. Understand how glorious is Dhruva Maharaj, that even Narada Muni is glorifying him. He is actually the spiritual master of Dhruva Maharaj. But the spiritual master itself, he himself is glorifying Dhruva Maharaj. So the emphasis comes back to the title of the chapter, the descendants of Dhruva Maharaj. That means it plays a weightage. When we belong to a very exalted parampara, we carry that weightage, that we are expected to be responsible, right? Then 5. My dear Brahmana, how did Narada Muni glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and what pastimes were described in that meeting? I am very eager to hear of them. Kindly explain fully about the glorification of the Lord. Again, Vidura is saying that, I'm very much eager. Please tell me what is happening. Now, the next section is about
Utkala's renunciation from verses 6 to the 10. The great sage Maitreya replied, "My dear Vidura, when Maharaj Dhruva departed for the forest, his son Utkala did not desire to accept the opulent throne of his father, which was meant for the ruler of all the lands of this planet." So although Utkala was very qualified and he's the next immediate heir, he didn't accept the throne. So why is that so? 7. From his very birth, Utkala was fully satisfied and unattached to the world. Upasyanta Atman Nishsangaha. And what are the other qualities? Samadarshana. He was equipoised. For he could see everything resting in the super soul and super soul present in everyone's heart. So these are the 3 characteristics of Utkala. What are the 3 characteristics? He is fully satisfied, he is unattached, and he is equipoised. Now, can you think of a verse from Bhagavad Gita which relate to this characters? Krishna speaks in the 18th chapter. A hint for you. Yes, Prabhu. Atma Antaryami Prabhu. Antaryami Balaram Prabhu. Yes.
Is it Brahmabhut Prasannatma?
Yes, Brahmabhuta Prasannatma. Na sochati na kankshati.
Sama sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhakti.
Okay. Now the question is, we will read some of the characters of the Utkala, and then we will see how can we apply this. The symptoms and characteristics of Utkala, the son of Maharaj Dhruva, are those of a Mahabhagavat. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 6:30, Yomam pasyanti sarvatra sarvam cha mayi pasyati. A highly advanced devotee sees the Supreme Personality of Godhead everywhere, and he also sees everything resting in the Supreme. It is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 9.4, Maya tatam idam sarvam jagat avyaktamurtina. Lord Krishna is spread all over the universe in his impersonal feature. Everything is resting on him. But that does not mean everything is he himself. A highly advanced Mahabhagavat devotee sees in the spirit, and he sees the same super soul Paramatma existing within everyone's heart, regardless of discrimination based on different material forms of the living entities. He sees everyone as a part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Mahabhagavata who experiences the Supreme Godhead's presence everywhere is never missing from the sight of the Supreme Lord, nor is the Supreme Lord ever lost from his sight. This is possible only one is advanced in love of Godhead. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he describes saying that, he has achieved such a position where Utkala was able to see who he is. He understood that I am the spirit soul, I am Krishna's servant. Jivera Swarup Hoy, Nityara Krishnadas. He was able to realize that. And that is why he was able to display these characters of being satisfied, unattached, and he was equipoised. And in 8 and 9, we will read more. By the expansion of his knowledge of the Supreme Brahman, he has already attained liberation from the bondage of the body. The liberation is known as Nirvana. He was situated in transcendental bliss, and he continued always in the blissful existence, which expanded more and more. This was possible for him by the continual practice of Bhakti Yoga, which is compared to fire because it burns away all dirt and material things. He was always situated in the constitutional position of self-realization, and he could not see anything else but the Supreme Lord and himself engaged in discharging devotional service. Now, I want you all to think about, is it practically possible for all of us to achieve this position? And if yes, can you quote a shloka from the Bhagavatam? I can hint you, it is in the Bhagavatam first canto. The shloka I'm looking forward is from the Bhagavatam canto 1. First of all, is this stage of being satisfied, becoming unattached, and becoming equipoised, is this stage practically attainable? Is it attainable? Anyone? Yes, Rukmini Mataji.
Mataji, it has been written. So yes, it is attainable. How Bhartam can write
Okay,
anything
how?
for us.
Now the question comes, how? How are you going to attain it? It's not just because of written. Okay, what is written? What is written? How can you attain it?
Mataji, I'm just trying that with the association of devotees, like-minded
Quote a
devotees.
shloka. Quote a shloka. Quote a shloka. Think about it. Think about some shlokas. Because, you know, when we are studying Bhagavatam, this is how we should be learning. You know, for everything that we going to present, we should have some reference. Otherwise, you know, then what's the point of having such a systematic study, right? So practice it. Think about a shloka. First of all, is it attainable? Second, how? Yes, Ganga Shakti Mataji.
Mataji, it is certainly attainable because not just examples from the Bhagavatam and not just our acharyas, we can see it in our present gurus as well. Operating on a platform which is described in the Shastras. So it is certainly attainable for sure.
Okay, so can you quote a shloka? You know, because we are seeing the examples. Now we have to relate them to the shloka, right? If you don't need to go to the cantos which are not covered for you. What about the cantos which you have covered? Canto 1, Canto 2, Canto 3, something. I'll come back to you. Let me take from Antaryami Prabhu. Yes, please.
Mati, regarding the shloka, is it, can we quote Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita? Gyanacha Rahitukam. So I was thinking that if we do the devotional service of the Lord, then we acquire the knowledge and detachment from the world.
Wonderful. See, that is what even Utkala was doing, right? He attained the Brahman, Supreme Brahman situation, but he was continuously engaged in the devotional service. That's wonderful. Any more references that you can think about? Please, let's churn a little bit. What else? How else? You know, we can come to this being satisfied, becoming unattached, and you know, equipoised and develop love of Godhead. Anyone else? Sorry, one second. I was also thinking of a shloka, if it's okay, because no one is sharing, so let me share. I will share another shloka that I was thinking. This one. This is from the Bhagavatam, first canto, 7th. Yes, Priya Satyabhama Mataji. I'll say after you. Go ahead.
Mazi, can we quote from Bhagavad Gita?
Yes, you should be.
Anywhere,
Anywhere the Shastra.
So we can quote here,
Yes.
Mataji, man mana bhav mad bhakto madhyajimam namaskuru. Mama vishwasya satyam te pratijane priyosmi me, and the other version as well, because both of them say always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and then you will be you, and I promise you will attain me without fail because you're my friend. And the other version is the same, right? So this is also, you know, means of attaining Krishna by sadhana bhakti.
Okay, that's nice. Good attempt. Yes, Ganga Shakti Mataji.
Mataji, Bhagavad Gita 10.10 Tesham satata yuktanam bhajadam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam. So it is only by mercy, and we, by mercy of Krishna, and mercy of Krishna we invite by constantly engaging.
Okay, by constant engagement in devotional service, Krishna gives us that intelligence to move towards him.
Yes.
Right. Yes, wonderful. Thank you. Yes, Antaryami Prabhu.
Mataji, I was also thinking of 1 to 14. Tasmadekin manasa Bhagwan Satatam Pati Shrotatavya Dheya Pujasta Nityada. So, by one pointed attention, we should constantly chant here, glorify, remember, and worship the personality of Godhead, who is the protector.
See, again, the bhakti is emphasized again. Yes, to when we are engaged in devotional service, that one pointed focus will be coming. And I was also thinking of this particular shloka, 177. This is in the punishment of son Drona. It comes in the beginning. Yasman vai suryamanayam Krishne parame pumse bhakti upadhyante pumsam shoka moho bhayopadaya. So here, simply by giving oral reception to the Vedic literature, the feeling for loving devotional service to Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, sprouts up at once to extinguish the fire of lamentation, illusion, and fearfulness. So this is also because we should never stop the oral reception. That means we should be always hearing to the Krishna Katha and reciting the Krishna Katha. What happens, it will help us to develop devotional service, like that loving devotional service to the Lord. And at the same time, we will be free from lamentation. What is lamentation? That means hankering, right? Oh, I don't have it, I don't have it. And then illusion. Oh, what will future bring for me? Right? This is what is that? Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma, na sochati, na kankshati. No, I'm not thinking, what will it bring to me? Sama sarveshu bhuteshu. I become very fearless. I become very equipoised. When I am in fear, I cannot become equipoised. But you become only fearless when, what happens? When you are actually situated in your sthiti, the right position, the constitutional position. So that's a very good try. So Utkala's position can be achieved, but not by mental speculation or by the yoga gymnastics, but by engaging in devotional service. So devotees can become very advanced just by engaging in devotional service, not by mental speculation, not by yoga mystic activities, or even doing a lot of karma kanda activities. It's only by the bhakti yoga. And you gave such wonderful references, how Krishna helps with his mercy, and how that is a potency of the devotional service, that it will give you detachment, it will give you knowledge. So a devotee, even what do you say? A weak devotee is much better than a foolish, intelligent materialist. Why? Because this devotee, the weak devotee, has to just overcome his weakness. Whereas the foolish materialist, he will be just focusing on his intellect, on his karmic activities. So Utkala, externally, he has showing that how he has become dumb. You will see in the further verses, people will disregard him, thinking that, he's lazy, maybe he's less intelligent, he's foolish. But actually he's not, because he has taken the shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He has raised himself to Mahabhagavat platform. So continuation, verse 10. Utkala appeared to be less intelligent persons on the road to be foolish, blind, dumb, deaf, and mad. Although actually he was not so. He remained like a fire covered with ashes without blazing flames. So Prabhupada here takes advantage of this, saying that, for all practical purposes, the whole world is full of non-devotees. So one kind of very advanced devotees is Bhajananandi. And those who are Goshtanandi, however, preach to increase the number of devotees. But even such preachers also avoid opposing elements who are unfavorably disposed towards spiritual life. So Prabhupada is talking about either someone can become a Bhajananandi or a Goshtanandi. And we should, and Prabhupada emphasizes that we should become Goshtanandi. But however, it doesn't mean that we have to look down upon Kushtanandi, because, you know, even to achieve, to be on that platform is not a small thing. See how many opposing elements that Utkala is facing here. Everyone is calling him ill names and he's disregarded. But he is fixed in his determination. And that is a glory, right? That's glorious act. 11. For this reason, the ministers and all elderly members of the family thought Utkala to be without intelligence and in fact mad. Thus, his younger brother named Vatsara, the son of Brahmi, was elevated to royal throne and he became the king of the world. So you remember Dhruva had 2 wives, isn't it? The first wife's son is Utkala and the second wife's son is Vatsara. So seeing the mental condition, the ministers thought that, okay, maybe Utkala wouldn't do justice to the monarchy. So let us give a chance to Vatsara. So he was enthroned. So again, here Prabhupada says that, you know, how is monarchy elected? It's not elected blindly, but actually there's a lot of consultation between the ministers. And then they decide whether it's really a worthy person who is taking up the throne. 12. King Vatsara had a very dear wife. Why are we continuing with the King Vatsara's geological table now? Because Utkala was Mahabhagavat, he was a Paramahamsa. So he was not engaged in any material family. So there's no genealogy continuation. So the continuation is happening from the King Vatsara. King Vatsara had a very dear wife whose name is Savriti. And she gave birth to 6 sons named Pushparna, Tigmakthetu, Isha, Urja, Vasu, and Jaya. So what is Vatsara's wife? Means Ishta, that means she's worshipable because she has all good qualities and she was very faithful and affectionate to her husband. So because she has good qualities and because the husband has good qualities and the wife has good qualities, they are able to bring good progeny into the world. Now continuation, Pushparna had 2 wives named Prabha and Dosha. Prabha had 3 sons named Prathap, Prathar, Madhyadinam, and Sayam. Dosha had 3 sons, Pradosha, Nishtita, Yusta. Yusta's wife named Pushkarini, and she gave to the very powerful son named Sarvateja. Now Sarvateja's wife Akuti gave birth to a son named Chakshusha, who became the 6th Manu at the end of the Manu millennium. Now, what is the Manu that we are going through now? Which Manu are we in? Yes,
Vaivasvat Manu Mataji.
Yes. What is the number? 7.
Seven Mataji. 7 number.
7. He is in the 7. So this was just before the Manu, the present Manu, that is Chakshusha Manu, and who became the 6th Manu at the end of the Manu millennium. Nadvala, the wife of Chakshusha Manu, gave birth to the following faultless sons: Puru, Kushta, Trita, Drumna, Satvan, Rita, Vrata, Agnisthoma, Atiratha, Pradyumna, Sibi, and Ulmuka. Now continuation. Of the 12 sons, Ulmuka begot 6 sons and the wife Pushkarini. They were all good sons and their names were Anga, Sumana, Kayati, Kratu, Angira, and Gaya. The wife of Angira, Sunita, gave birth to a son named Vena, who was very crooked. Yes. And the saintly King Anga was very disappointed with Vena's bad character, and he left home and kingdom and went out to the forest. Now, one other thing that we have to note, that Srimad Bhagavatam is focusing on not on the geology itself, but actually it's focusing, the prime objective of the Srimad Bhagavatam is to glorify the Lord and his incarnations and the devotees, right? To create that love for the Krishna pastimes. So the genealogy that Sukadeva Goswami is describing, Maitreya Muni is describing, this is all leading us to hear more pastimes of the Lord. So Anga was the son of Ulmukha, right? And Anga's wife Sunita, she gave birth to son Vena, who was very crooked. So from here, there's a change of a section where we will be hearing about Vidura will be asking, who is Vena? Why is he crooked? Why did King Anga had such a bad son? The saintly King Anga was very disappointed with Vena's bad character, and he left home and kingdom and went to the forest. 19 and 20. My dear Vidura, when great sages curse, their words are as invincible as thunderbolt. Thus, when they cursed King Vena out of anger, he died. After his death, since there was no king, all the rogues and thieves flourished. The kingdom became unregulated, and all the citizens suffered greatly. On seeing this, the great sages took the right hand of Vena as a churning rod, and the result of their churning, Lord Vishnu, in his partial representation, made his advent as King Prithu, the original emperor of the world. So in the Dhruva Maharaj descendant, King Prithu, who is the partial incarnation of the Lord, took birth. Now, here we also see that Prabhupada is explaining how democracy is full of thieves and rogues, whereas monarchy is still much better because it is always guided by the Brahmanas. So monarchy is better because of the guidance, whereas in democracy, it's all the rogues and thieves, they're electing rogues and thieves. Yeah, so here what is happening? Vidura is learning that the great sages cursed King Vena. Now Vidura will be asking a question, how come? Because sages, the saintly persons, meant to give protection. They were never meant to harm anyone. So how is that they have killed Vena? Vidura inquired from the sage Maitreya, my dear Brahmana, King Anga was very gentle. He had a high character and was a saintly personality and lover of Brahmanical culture. How is that the great soul got a bad son like Vena, because of whom he became indifferent to his kingdom and left it? So what is Vidura's first question here? He was wanting to know that how is that Anga, such a nice king, gentle king, who has very high character, who is always encouraging the Brahmanical culture, how is that, he got a son like Vena who is crooked, and why did he leave the kingdom? Now, Prabhupada writes a very interesting purport. In a family, a man is supposed to live happily with father, mother, wife, and children. But sometimes, under certain conditions, a father, mother, child, or wife becomes an enemy. It is said by Chanakya Pandit that a father is an enemy when he is too much in debt. A mother is an enemy if she marries for a second time. A wife is an enemy when she is very beautiful. And son is an enemy when he is a foolish rascal. In this way, when a family member becomes an enemy, it is very difficult to live in the family life or remain a householder. Generally, such situations occur in material worlds. Therefore, according to Vedic culture, one has to take leave of his family members just after his 50th year so that the balance of his life may be completely devoted in search of Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada is emphasizing on taking vanaprastha. We should be thinking about taking vanaprastha after a certain age, because the material affairs are very entangling. Even though you can be a very saintly person, but you can be troubled being in the family life for a long time. And this is exactly what Prahlad says to Hiranyakashipu. He describes the household life as the Andhakupam. Then he asks him to, you get out of this blind well of the household life, materialistic life, and then go to the Vanam. And Prabhupada writes, what Vanam? We have to go to the Vrindavan. And of course, Prabhupada created Vrindavan in form of ISKCON temples everywhere. So we should be taking shelter of Krishna after a certain age completely. We should be planning. 22. Vidura also inquired, how is that great sages who were completely conversant with religious principles desired to curse King Vena, who himself carried the rod of punishment and thus awarded him the greatest punishment, Brahmasapa. Now, this is also mind-boggling for Vidura. How is that the great sages who doesn't want to harm anyone, who are very conversant with the religious principle, they gave curse to King Vena? And here Prabhupada says, it is understood that king is able to give punishment to everyone, but in this case, it is that the great sages punished him. That means the king has even the right to punish the sages, but the sages don't have the right to punish the king. So that's why Vidura was expressing his doubt that how is that they are able to kill or curse Vena. Yes, again, Prabhupada also says that it appears that also that king was not independent of Brahmanical culture. Above the king was the control of Brahmanas, and if needed, Brahmanas would enthrone the king or kill him, not with a weapon, but with the mantra of Brahmasapa. So here two things. One, when the king is in the Vedic times especially, king is considered to be as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's why he has right to correct all his citizens. However, even Brahmanas wouldn't go against the king, in sense that, like even though he has some faults, they will excuse him because of their saintly nature. Getting the point? But here Vidura is expressing that, how come they're ready to kill? They killed King Vena. So again, here there is a symbiotic relationship between the Brahmanas and the Kshatriyas. Kshatriyas offer protection to Brahmanas, and Brahmanas give the spiritual intelligence so that, they can carry out ruling the citizens. And also Prabhupada writes in 4.1 Bhagavad Gita purport, saying that anyone who takes a responsible position, they will be guiding the citizens for three things: to impart the devotion, culture, and one more. Sorry, 1 second. One. Sorry, I should have written it down. Yes. Yeah, I'll read what Prabhupada says here. The executive heads of all states are intended to spread the Krishna consciousness so that people may take advantage of this great science and pursue a successful path, utilizing the opportunity of human form of life. And the essence and so these three things, that is the executive heads they would be doing to the people. One is the education, one is the culture, and that is devotion. Because that will tune them towards to take advantage of the human form of life and engage in devotional service. 23. It is the duty of all citizens in the state never to insult the king, even though he sometimes appeared to have something very sinful. Because of his prowess, the king is always more influential than all other ruling chiefs. Again, the same point is emphasized, that the king holds a very prominent position He's equivalent to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Vidura is expressing again his doubt. How is that, he is able to be cursed? 24. Vidura requested my dear Brahmana, you are well conversant with all subjects, both past and future. Therefore, wish to hear all the activities of King Vena. I'm your faithful devotee. So please explain. So again, Vidura is accepting Maitreya as the spiritual master and he's inquiring, please help me understand what it means. That what, now some changes to the sages are advising King Vena. Am I clear with here? Am I boring? Am I slow? Am I fast?
Your internet bandwidth is little low. Otherwise, everything is perfect. So sometimes voice gets low.
I think that is nothing. Okay. 25. Sri Maitreya replied, my dear Vidura, once the great King Anga arranged to perform a great sacrifice known as Ashwamedha. All the expert Brahmanas present knew how to invite the demigods, but in spite of their efforts, no demigod participated or appeared in that sacrifice. Now Maitreya started to tell the story how King Vena was appeared. But before that, what happened? Anga was performing the Ashwamedha Yajna, and the priest, they are so powerful that they can even they can invite the demigods. But some or the other, they were not coming and taking their share of offerings. The priest engaged in the sacrifice and informed Anga, okay, we are properly offering the clarified butter in the sacrifice. But despite all our efforts, the demigods do not accept it. So the priests are saying that we are doing our duty very nicely, but somehow they're not coming. O king, we know that the paraphernalia to perform the sacrifice is well collected by you with great faith and care and is not polluted. Our chanting of the Vedic hymns is also not deficient in any way. For all the brahmanas and priests present here are expert in executing performances properly. So what are they saying? Okay, you may be thinking that the paraphernalia has any problem or it's contaminated. No, it's not like that. It's very nicely taken care and it's not polluted. And also you may point out that maybe we are chanting wrong mantras. No, we are also chanting the mantras properly. And we are here executing the sacrifice in the right performance. Now 28. Dear King, we do not find any reason that the demigods should feel insulted or neglected in any way. But still the demigods who are witness for the sacrifice do not accept their shares. We do not know why this is so. So they're saying that, there's none of the things are neglected from our end. But still, they're not accepting. So here Prabhupada makes a point that, how seva aparad, the 4 kinds of aparads. Does anyone know about the 4 kinds of aparads? That we can commit, 4 kinds of aparads. Towards the Nam, Krishna's name. Nam aparad. Yes, Rukmini.
Nam aparad, Dham aparad, Vaishnava aparad, and Seva aparad.
Okay, so the first offense is committing offenses towards Krishna's name. That is Nam aparad. And how do we nullify it?
But we read the 10 offenses. If we are careful of not committing those 10 offenses, so we can save ourselves from the Nam aparad.
Yeah, yeah, being mindful of the 10 offenses as well as chanting more Nam. Chanting more Nam will remove this Namaprad. Okay, what is the second one? Offenses towards Vaishnavas. How do we nullify the offenses towards the Vaishnavas? What are some ways? Yes, Rukmini Mataji.
Mataji, we can go, the Vaishnava prayer can be nullified just by begging forgiveness from the same Vaishnava. We need to serve that Vaishnava, we need to beg forgiveness from that Vaishnava, and somehow or other there is a need to please that Vaishnava. So if that Vaishnava is pleased, then we are forgiven. The second point, if that Vaishnava is really very much offended and is not ready to forgive, then we can just take the dust off that Vaishnava lotus feet and simply can engage ourselves in more chanting and in rendering pure devotional service.
Okay, that's nice. Yes, Priya Satyabhama Mataji.
Mataji has said more or less everything, but only one thing I can add here is we can please the Vaishnava by offering our services as well.
Right.
If we can do something for that Vaishnava in any capacity, that's seeking forgiveness only in one or the other way. So that's one thing we can also do.
Okay, and then the third one, offenses towards the third thing is the Jiva Aparad. Like, so how do we nullify the Jiva Aparad? How do we nullify the Jiva Aparad? By practicing Krishna consciousness and by spreading Krishna consciousness. Right? Yeah, and then the fourth, which was spoken here about the Seva Aparad. Now, what is the Seva Aparad? The Seva Aparad means that we commit mistakes or commit aparad during our service to the lordships. So how do we nullify this aparad? We will see if someone else can try, Rukmini. Anyone else? How do we nullify the Seva aparad? Any thoughts? How would you do that? Yes, Antrayami Balaram Prabhu.
Maybe Mati, by following the rules and regulations of the scriptures, by following the Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, we may avoid.
Okay.
Satya.
Yes, thank you. Yes, Rukmini Mataji.
Haristane aparate tare harinam. By chanting more, we can come over the offense we commit while serving adoption.
Can you take a point from the purport itself that Prabhupada is mentioning very subtly in the purport? What is Prabhupada saying? He is making a very subtle point that we can nullify the Seva Aparad by anyone wants to try? Yes, Raya Ramananda Prabhu.
Strictly following the regulatory principle of like cleanliness and these things can be adopted.
Yes. And also, there's one subtle point. Yes, Rukmini Mataji.
Mataji, Prabhupada is saying that everything Prabhupada has, Srila Rupa Goswami has mentioned, and Srila Prabhupada has mentioned in NOD that how we should worship the deities.
That is falling in the same thing. That is falling under the same thing, following the do's and don'ts and regulative principles described in the scriptures. But there's another subtle point.
Is it that second is like that, not to manufacture our own thing by mental speculation?
No, but that means that we are following the rules and regulations. The point Prabhupada is mentioning that we simply make a show of offering services. We should.
Principle of cleanliness, it's written.
Yes, that is part of the regulative principles. So Prabhupada is here subtly mentioning that, whatever the service we are offering, it should not for the show, but it should be out of the genuine offering to the lordships. Also, after doing the services and say, like after the service, you can recite the mantras of asking for forgiveness. That way also we will overcome the seva aparat. So here, what are the Brahmanas are telling King Anga? We have done everything possibly right, but still the demigods are not coming and accepting your sacrifices. And what sacrifice is Anga performing here? Ashwamedha sacrifice. Maitreya explained that King Anga, after hearing the statements of priests, was greatly aggrieved. At that time, he took permission from the priest to break his silence and inquired from all the priests who were present in the sacrificial arena. So what he has done, Anga was disturbed, and then he thought that, okay, let me get some counseling from all the assembled priests. Said, what went wrong and why is this not happening? King Anga addressed the priestly order. My dear priest, kindly tell what offense I have committed. Although invited, the demigods are neither taking part in sacrifice nor accepting their shares. The head priest said, O king, in this life, we do not find any sinful activity even within your mind. So you are not in the least offensive. But we can see that in a previous life, you perform sinful activities due to which, in spite of having all qualifications, you have no son. And when we talk about the sins, there are 4 different kinds of sins. Does anyone know 4 different kinds of sins? Anyone knows? Wanna try? Oh, no, sorry. This is not the sins, but these are the anarthas. Oh, sorry, I mixed up. Okay, there are 4 different types of anarthas. Sorry, that's not sins. So because Anga was not having a son, that itself, that is the result of being sinful in the past lives. So the head priests are saying that this is all because, you don't have a son. Because you've been sinful, that's why. Now 32. O king, we wish all good fortune for you. You have no son, but if you pray at once to the Supreme Lord and ask for a son, if you execute the sacrifice for that purpose, the enjoyer of the sacrifice, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, will fulfill your desire. So what are the head priests are saying? Now, King Anga, you direct the entire sacrifice for this purpose to get a son. You ask the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then if the Lord is pleased, then he will fulfill your desire. When Hari, the supreme enjoyer of all sacrifices, is invited to fulfill your desire for a son, all the demigods will come with him and take their shares in the sacrifice. Now here it's also a preaching application that, how we can help people understand that, worshipping Krishna will make everyone happy. You will see in the later chapters of the 4th canto, during the Pracheta's pastime, Lord Shiva is quoting that, when you worship Lord Vishnu, all the demigods are satisfied. When you feed the stomach, all the limbs are enlivened. When you water the root, all the branches, twigs, leaves, everything will be taken care. So here, what are the priests saying? The priests are saying, if the Lord comes, then all the demigods will be coming and they will take their share. Can anyone remember a shloka from the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita? emphasizing this point. Third chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. The purpose of doing sacrifice.
Yagyasishtasana.
Can you quote the sloka? Or the
Yagyasishta.
translation? Look into the book, no problem. It's okay. Look into the book. Because it helps us, you know, like we can relate and we can help us.
Mataji, is it 3.9?
Yes. What is it? What is 3.9?
It says, Mataji, see, I found it from the book. I did not remember, of
No
course.
problem.
Work done as a
It says
sacrifice for
Yagnarth.
has to be performed, otherwise were caused bondage in this material world.
And this is what shloka? This is in?
3.9.
This is Mataji 3.9. Yagnarth karmano anyantra loko ayam karma bandhana tad artham karma kaunteya mukta sanga samachara.
Okay, work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed. Otherwise, work causes bondage in this material world. Therefore, O son of Kunti, perform your prescribed duties for his satisfaction. In that way, we will always remain free from bondage. So this is what the priests are telling to King Anga. You know, you perform work as the offering to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Also, there is another shloka in the third chapter, if you go still further down. Can anyone see one more shloka?
Mataji, is it 3.11?
3.11, what is it talking about?
The demigods being pleased by sacrifices will also please you, and thus by cooperation between men and demigods, prosperity will reign for all.
Right. Yes. So, you know, like we cannot please the demigods by themselves, but we can please the Supreme Lord, and then the demigods are automatically pleased. The performer of the sacrifices under karmakanda activities achieves the fulfillment of the desires for which he worships the Lord. So the priests are continuing to say that, you know, okay, you know, your desire to have the sun will be fulfilled, but you have to perform. You have to worship the Supreme Lord. 35. Thus, for the sake of the sun, King Anga, they decided to offer oblations to Lord Vishnu, who is situated in the hearts of all living entities. Now, here is an interesting word that is used. It's called Sipi Vitsaya Vishnave. So, Sipi Vistava means to the Lord who is situated in the sacrificial fire. Now, understand what is the sacrifice happening here? What sacrifice is carried out?
Ashwamedha.
Ashwamedha Yagna. What is happening in Ashwamedha Yagna? Do you know what happens in Ashwamedha Yagna?
Horse is sacrificed.
Yes, horse is sacrificed. Now, you see, Sipi Vistaya, the Lord is situated in the sacrificial fire. Now, how come that the Lord is present in the sacrificial fire and he is accepting the animal sacrifice? You know, anyone who reads, they will be confused. First of all, you know, we don't propagate animal sacrifice. Now, in the sacrificial fire itself, the Lord is present. Now, how do we understand this? How do we understand this? If someone reads and then they can claim that, you know, you are performing the sacrifice and Lord Vishnu is in the fire of the flames, then how are you, you know, how are you not doing killing of the animals? How do you justify? Yes, Antaryami Prabhu.
Can we say, Mati, that the animal is sacrificed for his benefit, so that the animal can be given a new life, or can
Yes.
skip the 84 lakhs and go to the human form of life.
Yes, thank you, Prabhu. Yes, Priya Satyabhama Mataji, any other point?
No, Mataji, same. I had the same point.
Yes. So here there are two things. One is, the animals are put in the sacrifice so that the priest can check their Vedic mantras, the potency of their Vedic mantras. And here the intention is not to kill the animal, but to give a rejuvenation to the animal itself. And we don't dump young animals, but it's actually an old animal that is put into the sacrifice. And they get rejuvenated in this sacrifice. But in the Kali Yuga, 5 things are prohibited. You know the 5 things? You remember the 5 things which are prohibited? Anyone? What are the 5 things that is prohibited in the Kali Yuga? Yes, Rukmini Mataji.
I know 2.
Sorry. Yeah, try, no problem.
Animal sacrifice and sannyas.
Okay, good. 2. Priya Satyabhama Mataji.
Mataji, yagya and deity worship. The last one is
deity worship is prohibited?
I mean, according to the scriptures, yes, Mataji, because they say it's too complicated and, we don't know all the...
No.
No, the Pancharatric Vidhi is obviously allowed.
So what
I mean,
is
this is what I remember.
No.
I
What is
remember from
Pancharatri
the
Vidhi?
classes.
No. What is Pancharatri Vidhi? That means that we are installing the deities, we are welcoming the deities to come, and we are engaged in the devotional service. Deity worship is not prohibited.
I don't know. Maybe I heard it in a class, Mataji. Maybe I missed out a point probably, but it said, that the Sankirtan Yagya is everything for Kali Yuga, but then we do it because we should not be doing any offenses, and there are so many things involved in deity worship. That's what I remember. Maybe I'm wrong here.
That's why you remember in the beginning of the class we were discussing how Pancharatrika Vidhi, following the Pancharatrika Vidhi system is very important, because it helps us to come to the sattva platform, and also it helps us to be more regulated, and it builds a very personal relationship with the Lord. So Pancharatrika Vidhi is very much necessary, and Prabhupada, that's why he has incorporated both Pancharatrika Vidhi and Bhagavat Vidhi together. Yes, Rukmini Mataji. Thank you, Priya Satyabhama Mataji, for trying.
Mataji, one I'm just trying when I'm remembering. In the previous ages, if the lady, if the lady's husband is dead, then that lady can be married. Actually, she got married to her husband's brother, but in Kali Yuga it is prohibited.
No, it's not marrying, but it's actually begetting the child in the elder brother's wife.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah, you remember how Vyasadeva got impregnated the wives of his brother?
Yes,
That's how Dhritarashtra, Vidura, and Pandu were born. You remember? Yeah. Yes,
so, but this is prohibited in Kali Yuga.
Kali Yuga. Right. This is prohibited in Kali Yuga. So the 5 things which are prohibited in the Kali Yuga is horse sacrifice, cow sacrifice, acceptance of sannyas, offering flesh to the forefathers during the pinda, pinda dan or something. And then the 5th is begetting a child in the elder brother's wife's womb. But out of these 5 also, we still accept, like in our ISKCON, we have the sannyasis. We have this sannyas ceremony all the time. But why is that so? Because this is for a higher purpose. They're not becoming sannyasis because, it's part of the Varnashram system or alone. They're accepting sannyas to promote Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's message. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself has taken the sannyas. Right? Yeah. Oblation was offered in fire. So, okay, let's go back. We missed out one point here. The point is here Vishnu isn't in the sacrificial fire. So as soon as the animal is sacrificed, the Lord is rejuvenating the animal. That's why he's Sipi Visthaya. That means that he's present in the sacrificial fire. He's taking care. He's in the control. He's in charge of it. Right? As soon as the oblation was offered in the fire, a person appeared with a fire altar wearing a golden garland and white dress. He was carrying a golden pot with rice boiled in milk. Out of the sacrifice, there was the person carrying out the kheer. The king was very after taking priest, he took the preparation in his joined arms. After smelling it, he offered a portion to his wife. Now here, Anga was called Udharadhi, very liberal-minded. Why is he called liberal-minded? Prabhupada explains in the purport. Actually, his wife Sunita is not at all qualified to receive this offering. But because he's very liberal, he offered a portion to her. And because of that, she became pregnant, and then King Vena was born. King Sunita, on the maternal, like her father is, who is he? I forgot his name. Sorry. Death personified. That I think he is death personified, and she's the daughter of the death personified. So we will see here. Although the queen had no son after eating that food, which had the power to produce a male child, she became pregnant by her husband, and due course of time, she gave birth to a son. So this is because of the potency of the Krishna Prasad, Vishnu Prasad. That boy was born partially in the dynasty of irreligion. His grandfather was death personified, yes. And the boy grew up as his follower, and he became greatly irreligious person. So Sunita was so sinful that she took birth as the daughter of death personified one. And she didn't have ability to produce a son. But because she accepted the remnants of Krishna Prasad, she became pregnant and she gave birth to King Vena. Now, King Vena is not yet king now. Vena, he inherited the qualities of his grandfather. So he was very irreligious. Now, Prabhupada also makes this point. According to axiomatic truth, that things equal to the same thing are equal to one another. The child born of King Anga became the follower of his maternal grandfather. According to Smriti Shastra, a child generally follows the principles of his maternal uncle's house. Narnam Matula Karma means that child generally follows the qualities of his maternal family. If the maternal family is very corrupt or sinful, the child, even though born of a good father, becomes a victim of maternal family. According to Vedic civilization, therefore, before the marriage takes place, an account is taken of both boys and girls' families. If according to astrological calculation, the combination is perfect, then marriage takes place. Sometimes, however, there is a mistake and family lives becomes frustrating. So this is an axiomatic truth. What is axiomatic truth? That means the truth can never, no one can change it. Like, for example, the sun rises in the east. Whether I say it or you say it, the truth remains the same. So according to Smriti Shastra, the child always carries the qualities of the maternal family. So that's why there is this tradition of looking into the previous generations of the girl side and the boy side, so that the union will become very fruitful and prosperous. If there is any mistake, then Prabhupada is saying that the family life becomes very frustrating. 40. After fixing his bow and arrow, the cruel boy used to go to forest and unnecessarily kill innocent deer. And as soon as he came, all the people would cry, "Here comes cruel Vena, here comes cruel Vena." See, the Kshatriyas are given a chance to go to the forest to hunt. But why are they given the chance? So that they're learning how to handle the culprits in the states or the invaders when there is an attack on the kingdom. But what did the little boy Vena used to do? He used to go to the forest. Unnecessarily he used to kill the animals, and he used to take a lot of joy out of it. Yes, Rukmini Mataji.
Mataji, if you say that devotees are saying that we can read, otherwise you will get tired. If you say that we can read the translation, then if you
I'll finish this chapter and then we will go, because there are not many more. We will finish and then we'll take 10 minutes break, if it's okay.
yes, sir. No, I was saying
Next
that
chapter maybe all
devotees were saying that
they want to read. They want
No,
to read.
no, they are saying that you would get tired, so they want to read.
No, we will take a break anyways. Thank you so much for considering. Thank you. That's so sweet. Thank you. That's really nice. Yeah, we will finish this chapter, take a 10-minute break, and next chapter you can read. Because this chapter is a lot of just the descriptions, We're highlighting only the important points. That's why I was reading. The boy was so cruel that while playing with young boys of his age, he would kill them very mercilessly, as if they were animals meant for slaughter. So you see how the Vena boy, he was just little boy, but he was playing with his friends and he used to kill them mercilessly. After seeing the cruel and merciless behavior of his son, King Vena, King Anga punished him in different ways to reform him, but was unable to bring him to the path of gentleness. He thus became greatly aggrieved. So Anga was very disturbed seeing the activities and the atrocities of Vena. And he punished him, he corrected him in many, many ways, but never there was any change in Vena. The king thought to himself. Now this section is about how King Anga was introspecting, and he sees that he was unsuccessful. And he was unsuccessful in his material life. And this is what is the introspection. King thought to himself, persons who have no son are certainly fortunate. They must have worshipped the Lord in their previous life so that they would not suffer the unbearable unhappiness caused by the bad son. So if a son is born of a good qualities, then what happens? Everyone praises him, right? But if it's a bad son is born, then everyone curses him and his family, isn't it? And it's very painful. So this is what exactly Anga is going through. And he's thinking that, certainly I'm not very fortunate. I'm very sinful, because I don't have a son, and then I had a son and he happened to be very bad son. A sinful son causes a person's reputation to vanish. His irreligious activities at home cause irreligion and quarrel among everyone. And this creates only endless anxiety. This is what is going with Anga. But you see, you remember in the first descriptions of King Anga, when Vidura was asking Maitreya, such a gentle, saintly king. He was always pushing on the Brahmanical culture. He's the supporter of the Brahmanical culture. But now you see it's completely 360 degrees reversed with the activities of Veda. If he is considerate and intelligent, would desire such a worthless son. Such son is nothing but a bond of illusion for the living entity, and he makes one's home miserable. He is lamenting about his condition. Then the king thought, a bad son is better than a good son, because a good son creates an attachment for home, whereas a bad son does not. A bad son creates a hellish home from which an intelligent man naturally becomes very easily attached. Now you see, first of all, he was lamenting. Now there is a change of his thought process. Now he's trying to see the good even in the bad, right? Now he's thinking, why has Lord put me into this situation? Now what can I make it favorable for my Krishna consciousness? Now what is he thinking? If I had a good son, I would have been attached to the family. I would have attached to this skin. But now because he's a bad son, I don't have any attachment for the home. I don't have attachment to him. So it is indeed a blessing in disguise. That's what he's thinking now. He's thinking that this bad son is actually a friend who's helping me to become detached. Otherwise, I was never planning to leave the kingdom. I was never planning to leave the home. 47. Thinking like that, King Anga could not sleep at night. He became completely indifferent to household life. Once, therefore, in the dead of night, he got up from the bed and left Vena's mother, his wife, who was sleeping deeply. He gave up all attraction for his greatly opulent kingdom, and unseen by anyone, he very silently gave up his home and opulence and proceeded towards the forest. So what did he do? Now you see the characteristics of Anga in this shloka. Nirvina manaha, being indifferent in mind. He became completely indifferent because of the situation that has caused. To the house, to the family, to the opulences. Maha Udaya Udhyat, opulent by the blessings of the great souls. He is very opulent. He's like, he's flourishing, but still he didn't see that as an important thing. Alabdha nidraya, being without sleep, anuplakshita, without being seen, nirbihi, by people in general, he gave up, hitwa, he gave up. And then he left his wife, and then he went to the forest. Prabhupada writes, in this verse, the word mahondayat indicates that the blessings of great souls, one become materially opulent. But when one gives up the attachment to material world, that should be considered an even greater blessings from the great souls. So the detachment is also coming by the blessings of the great souls. It was not a very easy task for the king to give up his opulent kingdom and young, faithful wife. But it was certainly a great blessing of the Supreme Personality of Godhead that he could give up the attachment and go out to the forest without being seen by anyone. So which was very difficult, he was easily able to give up. In Chaitanya Charitamrita also, Krishnadas Kaviraj says that, the most difficult things become very easy when one remembers Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. And the most easy things become difficult when one doesn't remember Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda. Vijay Prabhu, who is a book distribution minister, he was telling in one Sankirtan pastime that one day he was just on the street and none of the books were going. And then he was continuously reciting the shloka from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. The most difficult things become easy when we remember Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda. And then immediately many books went. So Prabhu says that, I am on the street and when times become very difficult, I keep praying that, because by the Lord's mercy, even the most difficult things becomes easy. So we should be always learning from his character of Anga, that, we have to take shelter of the Lord so that even the greatest obstacles in our life can be easily overcome by the mercy of the Lord. There are many instances of great souls leaving home in this way in the dead of the night, giving up attachment for home, wife, and money. When it was understood that the king had indifferently left home, all the citizens, priests, ministers, friends, and people in general were greatly aggrieved. They began to search for him all over the world, just as less experienced mystic searches out for the super soul within himself. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that, King Anga was actually hiding in his own kingdom. But the citizens, the priests, minister, friends, and everyone, they're looking for him, but they were not able to recognize where is King Anga. So the comparison is given like the less advanced mystic yogis. They're doing all these yoga processes, but they don't know that the super soul is sitting in their hearts. 49, the last verse. When the citizens could not find any trace of king after searching for him everywhere, they were very disappointed and they returned to the city where all the great sages of the country assembled because of the king's absence. With the tears in their eyes, the citizens offered respectable obeisances and informed the sages in full detail that they're unable to find the king anywhere. So you see, King Anga is very affectionate to all his citizens, and citizens also dearly loved him. That's why they were greatly aggrieved in the absence of King Anga. Now, after understanding that Anga has moved on, they inform sages. So we'll take 10 minutes break. So it's now 5:55. We'll resume back at 6:05. Is that okay? So we finished chapter 13. We'll go for chapter 14 soon. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So, welcome back. So, we are now going to go and do some learning from the story of King Vena. This is chapter 14. Again, this is also a character portrayal, because again, we will see what are the don'ts that we should not be doing in our devotional service. What kind of mentalities that we should not be carrying out. In chapter 13, we have very wonderful examples of Utkala, King Anga, that they were displaying such prominent characteristics of being such advanced devotees. But in chapter 14, we will see that, how we should not tune ourselves to the wrong paths by coming under the influence of the pride and false ego. So we will continue. Okay, I will share the screen. As we don't have so much time, yes, Radha Keshava Prabhu. Sorry, I didn't see your hand. Yes, Prabhuji. You have a question or a comment, Prabhu?
Yes, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Mataji, the first question was that why Vidura asked about Vain, since he was a not good character, it is mentioned there, and devotees are only interested in singing what the glories of the devotees are, glories of Lord. Why Vain was chosen to be discussed?
Okay. So if you go back to the verse, one second, which verse is it? Sentence. Okay, this is verse 5 or 6, I think. No, this is verse later on, actually. One second. Let us go back. Yeah, here Maitreya was explaining that how King Anga had the son of King Vena, and who was cursed by the saintly persons.
Yeah.
So he was, Vidura was puzzled. First of all, Anga had a very good character. He's a very advanced devotee. How come he had a bad son like Vena? Second, he's also puzzled that how is that these sages who are very conversant in the religious principles, they actually curse someone to die.
Okay.
So that's how the story of King Vena has unfolded.
Right.
This you will find in the verses of from 18, 19 and 20.
Right.
And 21.
Okay.
20.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Can I go further,
And your
Mataji?
second question?
Okay, thank you.
Yes, please.
And then it is mentioned that the demigods were not preparing to come at the yajna. We are told that the demigods are supposed to. They are bound by the rules and regulation, and they have to come.
Yes.
Like karma mimamsa kind of a thing which Krishna told. So they are bound. So when they are bound, then how can they refuse?
Yes, very nice question, Prabhu. Thank you. I think I missed this point. They didn't come because it's the pastime of the Lord. You see, like the Lord has arranged that King Vena will be born to King Anga so that he will become detached. He will become indifferent to his kingdom, his family, and his home. And then he will take up to the path of pure devotional service. Sometimes Krishna interferes in the devotee's life and he makes this arrangement. Yes.
But that interference is not mentioned anywhere.
No, but the priest also expressed the same doubt. If you have seen the questions of the priests were explaining to King Anga, saying that, we did everything right from our end, but I don't know why. But then
So,
after consultation, the head priest is telling that, maybe you should be praying to the Supreme Personality of Godhead for a son.
okay.
What inspired the head priest to say something like that?
Okay. Yes, they asked him that you pray now.
Yeah, you pray for a son.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
then that's when they actually offer the oblations, and then the entire pastime took place. So it is very clearly showing that, the Lord is interested to bring back his devotee
Right.
home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. My next question.
Yes, Prabhu.
King Vane left to the forest.
No, Anga.
And
Anga
oh,
left.
sorry. King
Anga.
Anga left and left his wife, and there was no one to take care of that wife. So why that happened? He was knowing that there is no one to be taken care. Why that his wife
Because,
was
see,
left to a
you have to see the mental situation of King Anga. He was greatly aggrieved.
but
was
why
so-
he left the wife to the mercy of none?
There is Vena is there, and
No, Vena is there, but Vena is not capable son.
Yeah. So now, I'm sure Anga was also inspired by the Lord to leave everything, to become detached. If you go to, if you even see, if you go to Canto 5 also, you will see the pastimes of Priyavrata. There will be a point where Priyavrata and his wife, there will be, when she's sitting, he's sitting. When he's talking, when she's talking, he talks. When he sleeps, she sleeps, he sleeps. Something like that. A complete verse comes like that. When the detachment arose, King Priyavrata also left everything, just like he passed the stool, And this is very intense to hear. But that's what, if you see the purport of what Prabhupada was saying, it was very difficult for Anga to leave. He was very attached to his wife and kingdom and everything. Because he had the blessings of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the great souls, it became easy.
That is true. That is okay. That is
So
okay.
when when detachment
I was just
comes,
talking about Mataji. I was just talking about the thing that the mother should be in the care of a right person. The lady should be in the care of a right person. When
no, you have, that is so true, Prabhu. According to the Vedic system, that is how it is. But King Anga's detachment is so high that he didn't care for anything.
yeah, that is true. That is true.
That's what Prabhupada also writes, right, in the purport, saying that, some of the great souls leave the home in the mid of the night. And we see that with the Siddharth, King Siddharth, who became later Gautam Buddha.
Yeah.
So why did he leave? And his wife was much younger. Why did he leave? Because the fire of detachment comes, and then they move on.
Okay, Mataji.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's my
Thank you.
understanding, Prabhu.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji. Thank you. That is good. That is
Thank
good.
you, Prabhu.
Thank you very much.
Yes, Rukmini Mataji.
Sorry, I forgot, but can you please tell that how many wives King Anga has?
Only one. Sunita, only Sunita.
Only one.
Only one.
Or how many sons?
Only one.
Only one.
Vena.
Okay. Okay, Mataji.
Thank you. Yes, Anand Leela Mataji.
Hare Krishna, I just wanted to add to the point which Radhakesha Prabhu brought in the text 37 of this chapter 13. It says that actually the king was very liberal because he knew that his wife was not like up to the mark, but still he offered her the sweet rice or whatever, that prasad for her to conceive. So he knew that she is not at that level or whatever, and then still he was liberal. So he knew that she was not up to that mark, and then there in the purport Prabhupada writes that the Lord arranges for the devotee, so that he kind of knew. Then I think, I mean, it's just I felt towards the end of this chapter 13 that he kind of got a realization that like there was no point, like the son was going out of control and the wife. So I think that would have made him that to leave, because he already tried his best to uplift them and bring them and encourage them, but then probably when he see there was no point continuing, and he was so depressed and so then I think that was the state when he left. So I think then there was no point that what wife should be under what whose care. I mean that's the way they think, that she will be under always protected. But I think this was also a very significant point in his life that made him take that decision.
Yeah, and you rightly pointed out in 37 verse, Prabhupada writes about this is actually the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that like they get the cruel son and everything. I was also thinking, as you're mentioning about this point, we see even in the life of Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, also Prabhupada never wanted to leave. His spiritual master asked him to take sannyas, but he was like, no, I cannot refrain from my family duties and this and that. But things were not going, and his preaching was hampered. If Prabhupada wouldn't have made the choice to come out of the home, I don't think we would be sitting here and discussing his Bhaktivedanta purports, right? It's a great sacrifice indeed, of the family, of the Prabhupada. It's, at the age of 50, 60, he has no support. At the age of 69, he leaves to Western world knowing no one, And why is he doing? Because there is a bigger plan of Krishna. And today we are discussing Prabhupada's purports. That's because of Prabhupada's sacrifice, right?
Yeah.
So it is also the will of the Lord. Will of the Lord. Thank you. Yes, Rukmini Mataji.
Mataji, as Bhagavatam started from the Parikshit Maharaj, Maharaj was a very pious king. When he took the snake and put into the neck, the dead snake into the neck of the Rishi. So Mataji, that was incident also the will of the Lord.
Yes.
So if later on, if somebody asks me about King Anga, so can I say like that it was totally, he was very pious, but it was totally Krishna's will. So all this.
That's what Prabhupada writes in the verse 37. If you read in the purport of 37, Prabhupada is mentioning exactly the same point. Since the king was very liberal, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in order to increase his detachment from this material world, willed that a cruel son be born of queen, so that the king would have to leave home. So the Lord knows that, the consequence of having Vena as a son would be that he will be detached from this material world.
So then there is no point of going here and there. So this is simply Krishna. Prabhupada is mentioning it's Krishna's wish, so it all happened.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Mataji.
Yes. So now King Anga has left. Now the kingdom is without any king. So, and this is a very precarious situation for the kingdom, because that now the thieves and rogues, they wanted to exploit the citizens. Now the Brahmanas, the citizens came and they informed the Brahmanas that, King Anga left. We searched for him everywhere, but we're not able to find. Now we will see in this chapter what made King Vena to be cursed. And did Brahmanas immediately went to that step, or did they try out something? And then what were the consequences of it, and what came out? So I don't know how much we can cover. At least we will try for some parts. and we'll see where we will carry on to. So the first 6 verses is it's talking about the king, like, the Brahmanas, how they decided to put King Vena as the king, and how he will forbid the Brahmanas themselves to not to perform sacrifices. And from the 7 to the 12, we will hear about the sufferings of the citizens. And from 13 to 22, the Brahmanas decided, the sages decided, okay, maybe we should give a good counseling to King Vena, because he's immature, he's a new king, he doesn't know anything. Let's go give good counseling to him. And from 30 to 34, we will see the impudence of King Vena in his reply. What will be his replies? And 35 to 40, we will see again the reactions of King Vena's behavior, and the sages, how they curse him and kill him, and then as a result, again, how the thieves and rogues plundered the people. And last 41 to 46 talks about churning King Vena's body, and then King Prithu will be born. But King Prithu will be born in the next chapter. Before that, we will see there is another race that will be born before King Prithu. So we will continue, as you have all volunteered. So maybe you can read the translation of the first purport. Someone.
The great sage Maitreya continued, O great hero Vidur, the great sages headed by Bhrigu were always thinking on the welfare of the people in general. When they saw that in the absence of King Anga, there was no one to protect the interest of the people, they understood that without a ruler, the people would become independent and non-regulated.
Yeah, Prabhupada writes that, the sages are always thinking about the welfare of the people in general. If you remember chapter Canto 1, the sages of the Naimisharanya, they are decided, they're sitting and they're performing how many years sacrifice? 1,000-year sacrifice, right? And one of the early mornings, they decided, okay, maybe we should hear to some Krishna Katha. So they invited Sutta Goswami as the speaker of the day, right? So the sages, this is a quality of the saintly people who are always thinking about the welfare. How can I do good to these people? So they know that as soon as King Anga is not there, people will be irregulated, there will be no discipline, and people will act whimsically. No laws will be enacted. That's what Prabhupada is mentioning, that, why Varnashrama system is needed, which is divided according to the guna and karma, because the society will run peacefully when there is a balance between the Chaturvarna, when there is a balance between the Chaturvarna and it is established. Now verse 2. Can anyone read?
The great sages then called for the queen mother, Sunitha, and with her permission, they installed Vena on the throne as master of the world. All the ministers, however, disagreed with this.
Why did the ministers disagree with this? Because they know the nature of Vena, and they know that, he would not do any good to the people or to the kingdom. Now verse 3.
It was already known that Vena was very severe and cruel. Therefore, as soon as all the thieves and rogues in the state heard of his ascendance to the royal throne, they became very much afraid of him. Indeed, they hid themselves here and there as rats hide themselves from snakes.
So, although Vena was not a very good king, because of his cruelty, the thieves and rogues, they became afraid. Because anyone who is going against Vena, they know that they will be killed. So in that sense, there was a regulation. However, it didn't last for a long time. 4.
When the king ascended to the throne, he became all powerful with 8 kinds of opulences. Consequently, he became too proud. By virtue of his false prestige, he considered himself to be greater than anyone. Thus he began to insult great personalities.
So what is happening? As soon as King Vena was, he took up the throne, then he became all powerful with 8 kinds of opulences. That means he became the emperor actually. So from 8 directions, there was wealth. His kingdom was to that greater extent because his father's kingdom was to that greater extent. We should never forget that King Vena is still part of the Dhruva's lineage, right? So it's still part of. So the heritage is still there. So he became very proud, and he considered himself very great, and then he started to insult everyone, great personalities. Now, what is one thing that is affecting Vena is his false prestige. This is very, very dangerous. False pride, false prestige it's a very subtle poison. I'll read you something this is from Sri Hari Bhakti Sudodhaya, chapter 19. Deceitful and hypocritical persons may exhibit great standard of external behavior, motivated only for the fulfillment of their selfish desires. They wear the dress of saintly persons like actors upon the stage. So someone can be dressed up very nicely. They can have all the externally, they might be looking very great, saintly persons. But if internally they're very deceitful and hypocritical people, then they're just actors. And what is their motivation? To fulfill their selfish desires. Such hypocritical persons are jealous of others and always busy planning evil works. In spite of this, people in general praise them. But like an elephant made up of wood, they cannot accomplish anything worthwhile. So they're just there, but they don't accomplish anything good for themselves or for others. As a hunter spreads a net, desiring to capture a deer, in the same way these hypocrites capture the wealth of the rich men by spreading a net of ritualistic activities. As plunderers take away the wealth of the men in the forest by threatening them with sharp weapons, similarly, the charlatan meditators take away the wealth of the people in the villages by sharp-pointed kusha grass used in the ritualistic ceremonies. And another example given is a crane who appears to perform great austerities by standing still on one leg for a long time, but its only desire is to catch fish. Now, why I'm reading this, because pride is a very subtle thing, and even devotees, we get affected with this. So it's necessary to first to know what are the problems of the pride, how one acts madly in this pride, and what will be some solutions. So someone can, like a crane, the crane is standing on one leg. Did you ever see the crane? Some documentaries, the crane is standing on one leg. Now someone might think that, oh, it's performing great austerities. And it's very standstill. But as soon as it sees its prey, the fish, it automatically catches, right? So one who commits a sin openly falls down, but one who acts like a crane make many people fall down. So when someone carries this pride, with the pride, there comes the deceit. And because of deceit, not only one falls down, but we make many people fall down. Who can conquer pride? It is unconquerable even by great personalities. Having attacked in many ways, the fire of pride resides within men, continuously destroying the auspiciousness in their lives. It is only because of the pride we actually cannot create auspiciousness in our lives. We can also reflect, why did we leave Krishna? Why did we leave Krishna in the first place? Because we are very proud of our abilities, that we think that we can live without Krishna happily. Isn't it? Krishna is saying that this place is Dukhalayam Ashashvatam. But we are challenging him, saying that no, this place is Sukhalayam Shashvatam. But is it happening that so? No. At every step there is a misery, but we are saying that, there is no misery, we can counteract the misery. Pride may be due to one's caste, scholarship, knowledge, wealth, beauty, fame, strength, or any similar quality. After experiencing it, who here in this world can be free from its clutches? So that's why what is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, what is the verse that we are wearing as the kanti around our neck? Yes, Mataji, Antarayami Prabhu. So can you recite that verse, please? Yeah, so Mahaprabhu is telling that, Trinadapi Sunichena, we have to be like humbler than the grass, blade of a grass. People can step over us, but we should be flat. And we should be tolerant to all the insults, to all the indifferences that people will be showing to us. And in all circumstances, we should be offering respects to other people. Only in that such conditions, we will be able to chant the holy name continuously. And this is the only way we can conquer the pride. This is the only way. Now, see the pride, see the subtleties of the pride. One may give up the pride of possessing wealth, but pride of thinking oneself to be the possessor of good qualities or being great renunciate will still continue. So you may have given all your possessions and you're living very simple, but then you can still have this pride. If you remember this pastime of Sudama Brahmana, Sudama Brahmana had a very smallest tinge that I'm a great renunciate. Then what did Krishna do? He dumped him to the whole lot of wealth. Because he made Sudama saying that, everything that you have is actually belongs to me. That is one of the lessons that we learned from the Sudama pastime. Understanding the pitfalls of pride, some people do not like to hear others speaking their praise. Yet if someone says, you're so humble that you don't want to hear your own glorification, they become very pleased to hear that. Does it happen to us anytime? All the time. Like for most of us, it does happen. We might have given up so many things and people say that, oh, you're very humble. Yeah, externally, please don't, I don't want to listen. But internally, we are satisfied. This is also a subtlety of the pride. What wonder it is, although your yogi, who has acquired tranquility of mind, may have given up egotism and vanity from heart, yet still he may feel proud thinking, I'm the knower of the truth. See, it is going subtler and subtler. Right? Even if you have given the egotism, you become tranquil in the mind, everything. But the fact that you know the truth, that can also cause you proud. Some persons have managed to give up all kinds of pride and worldly attachments, yet pride still affects them as they think, I have no material attachments. Therefore, who can be totally free from false ego? Even a poor beggar whose suffering knows no bounds still feels pride and thinks, I have right to beg and I am a deserving person to receive charity and gifts. So even if you're penniless, if someone is a beggar, he can still think that, I have right to beg, and that makes him proud. Thus people suffer from this fault, stimulated by lust, anger, and greed, etc. They're foolish and cannot discuss subject matters other than the gross material body. So the pride is very subtle, and the only way to give up the pride is by constantly practicing. Trinadapi sunichena tarorapi sahisuna amanina manadena kirtanaya sadahir. That's why Mahaprabhu is saying that always wear this around your neck. That means you never forget. So we are aspirants of following this instruction of Mahaprabhu. Now we will continue. 5, verse 5. Can anyone read?
When he became overly blind due to his opulences, King Vena mounted a chariot and like an uncontrolled elephant began to travel through the kingdom, causing the sky and earth to tremble wherever he went.
So these are some of the atrocities that we will be seeing of King Vena from now. Verse 6.
All the twice-born Brahmins were forbidden henceforward to perform any sacrifice, and they were also forbidden to give charity or offer clarified butter. Thus King Vena sounded kettle drums throughout the countryside. In other words, he stopped all kinds of religious rituals.
Yeah, so before King Anga, he was promoting Brahmanical culture, whereas King Vena, he's promoting demonic mentality. He doesn't want to acknowledge anyone superior above him. So he's stopping all the sacrificial activities and charities. 7.
Therefore, all the great sages assembled together and, after observing cruel Vena's atrocities, concluded that a great danger and catastrophe was approaching the people of the world. Thus, out of compassion, they began to talk among themselves, for they themselves were the performer of the sacrifices.
Now, the question is here, what is the great danger and catastrophe that the great sages are worried about? What is the great danger? This is exactly the situation of the Kali Yuga, right? So what is the great danger here? People are continuing to work, people are continuing to manage their lives. So what's the great danger or catastrophe? Yes, Rukmini Mataji.
Mataji, if the king is not responsible, there is no welfare of the citizen of the.
What kind of responsibility?
The king should treat the citizen like their like his children. But if he doesn't so, and if he's cruel, so he will not. He will just if he is selfish, he just take care of his. He would be engaged in his sense gratification only. So there is no point of talking of the citizens. So if the citizens are not happy, actually it is the responsibility of king, and he is not performing his responsibility. So where is the welfare of the country?
Okay, so he is becoming selfish in his pursuits and he's neglecting the citizens. Okay, Priya Satyabhama Mataji, what is the great danger or catastrophe that we are talking about?
Mataji, can we say here that since he was not, bothering about the Brahminical culture, so then there was a downfall in the society which led to a lot of mayhem, because Brahmanas are the head of society, right? They are the guiding principles they lay down the guiding principles and help nourish the society and the citizens. And if that is not there, then King Vena, that means doesn't have right counsel. That means he's not fulfilling his duties properly, and so on and so forth,
What are some of his duties? What are some of his duties?
His duties are, Mataji, taking care of the citizens, seeking guidance of the council, council of the Brahmanas, and making sure that the citizens are getting their spiritual nourishment. So these are the basic things. So if there are no Brahmanas, there is no Brahmanical culture, that means the society doesn't have the guidance and doesn't have the knowledge of how they need to perform their spiritual activities and other things as well, how to nourish other ways also. So that means the society is not moving forward in the right direction.
Right. Thank you, Mataji.
So,
yes. Ganga Shakti Mataji, you drop your hand, but you can add something. It would be nice to hear.
Mataji, Priya Satyabhama Mataji said almost the same thing that I wanted to say, that because he was not not interested in the spiritual upliftment of his people, so the citizens were left without a guiding principle, because that is one of the chief functions of a king, that he's supposed to ensure that all his people under him uplift themselves spiritually, which King Vena was not able to do.
So, but let me ask you a question here. So now it is pretty much like King Vena's kingdom, like, the Kali Yuga society that what we are living in. It's just like King Vena's situation only, right? So many times when we go out and preach, then we hear that, people say that we are okay with it. So how would you explain that this is the greatest danger or catastrophic?
Being
Why
okay
is
with
it
an unfavorable.
Why is it the greatest danger or catastrophic?
Because it's the time of deepest ignorance that we are not even realizing that we are in such a difficult situation.
What is the difficult situation? I have internet, I have phone, I have millions of dollars.
But I'm wasting my human life.
Partner, I have nice Ferrari car, I have bank balance. What is difficult?
But that is not the purpose of human life. Human life is supposed to be meant to break out of the cycle of birth and death.
Yeah.
So that is, I'm caught in the same cycle. I am going to come back and then go back again, and I have no avenue to move out of this cycle.
Right. Thank you, Mataji. Yes. Yes, Rukmini Mataji.
Mataji, I think we can convince the people, like being in India, it is very easy because people know about the Ram Rajya. When there was Dashrath Maharaj in his during his kingdom, no, everything was there, everything, even and there I have heard that there was a walls like no mosquito can come into the kingdom. There was not at all a single problem, and actually it is a responsibility, and I have read in the Krishna book also, if a king is pious, that automatically the citizens will be prosperous, there will be prosperities everywhere. So this was like there. People were not afraid of anything. I'm getting so many things from the Krishna book. So people were not afraid, fearful. Now come to the present situation. There is a power.
But someone can put an argument said that it's just part of life. It's okay.
No,
everyone
then
goes through it.
No,
it's
no,
a big deal.
No,
did you hear these kind of things?
Unemployment, poverty, unemployment.
Life has ups and downs, and it's part of it. Today we don't have job. Tomorrow I'll find a job. It's okay.
But people are when there is a pious king in the Ram Rajya, people were not they can defeat the death. If they want to die, they could die. But now the situation is like even a child of 4 years, 5 years, even a newborn baby is getting died. It was not used to happen at the time of big fear one can have of death in the general public. So we can tell that this should be the situation, but now the things are not at place. The reason is that there is
I would rather take a different take rather than giving these reasons which people may or may not accept it, rather than we can take Srila Prabhupada's way. You just try out, take to the Krishna conscious process and experience the highest spiritual bliss and see for yourself, So here also we will see how the saintly persons, they're concerned, but now they're devising ways and means to how to rectify the situation. Now Kali Yuga is not something different to King Vena's situation, but now we know that this is a very dangerous situation and this is a catastrophic. So we have to implement the ways what Prabhupada has telling to us. Go out, do more book distribution, go out, do more prasadam distribution, bring people to Krishna consciousness. What will happen then? They will experience parantvirishtva nivartate. They will taste a higher taste and automatically they'll start to give up the lower taste. But if we telling them only, the negative side of the situation, it may not sit in their head, right? So Prabhupada was balancing both the things. One side, he was giving the higher taste. On the other side, he was hitting them with the philosophy, right? So we also, as preachers, we all are aspiring, and I'm sure all of you are preachers. We have to go to the people with the same mentality, that how Prabhupada is balancing this. Because we know that we cannot be caught up, we cannot be living in this material world forever. This is a very temporary situation, and make best out of it. Okay, we will continue. 8.
When the great sages consulted one another, they saw that the people were in a dangerous position from both directions. When a fire blazes on both ends of a log, the ants in the middle are in a very dangerous situation. Similarly, at that time, the people in general were in a dangerous position due to an irresponsible king on one side and the thieves and rogues on the other.
So what is the example given? Say for this is a log of wood. The fire is catching from this end and the fire is catching from this end. So eventually everything will be burnt out. So the citizens are also feeling the same heat. One side, the atrocities of the Vena, and the other side, the plundering of the rogues and thieves. So the sages were thinking that, now the people are really in a dangerous situation. They're bombarded with both the sides with difficulties. 9.
Thinking to save the state from irregularity, the sages began to consider that it was due to a political crisis that they made Vena king, although he was not qualified. But alas, now the people were being disturbed by the king himself. Under such circumstances, how could the people be happy?
Yeah, so now the sages are able to see that, this was not a very good choice. Now Prabhupada is writing in the purport that when the sages and the saintly persons saw that the King Vena had stopped all these functions, they become concerned about people's progress. This should be our concern as well. That, how do we help someone in their spiritual path, in their Krishna consciousness? Saintly people preach God consciousness or Krishna consciousness because they are anxious to save general populace from the dangers of animalistic life. This is the greatest danger. This is the catastrophe, that we are falling down from the human form of life to animalistic living. There must be a good government to see that citizens are actually executing their religious rituals, and thieves and rogues must be curbed. When this is done, people can advance peacefully in spiritual consciousness and make their lives successful. So when there is a good government, when there is a Krishna conscious government, what happens? There is a balance between material and spiritual, material pursuits and spiritual upliftment. Verse 10.
The sages began to think within themselves, because he was born from the womb of Sunita, King Vena is by nature very mischievous. Supporting this mischievous king is exactly like maintaining a snake with milk. Now he has become a source of all difficulties.
So here the serpent, King Vena is compared to the serpent. He is just fed with milk. So what is happening? If you give milk to the serpent, it's just adding to its poison. So because they made King Vena as the king, now no one can stop him from his atrocities. All the power is given to Vena, and now no one can stop. 11.
We appointed this Vena king of the state in order to give protection to the citizens. But now he has become the enemy of the citizens. Despite all these discrepancies, we should at once try to pacify him. By doing so, we may not be touched by the sinful results caused by him.
So now the sages are also worried about their own, credit history. They're thinking that, okay, if we are so much in touch with Vena, our credit history will be destroyed. We will get sinful reactions. You see, there are always people involved. There, even in the meat handling, Prabhupada says there are 6 people are involved. One who chops, one who cooks, one who sells, one who buys, one who carries it, like that, In any sinful reaction, it's a chain of reactions because the law of karma wouldn't leave them. So the sages were thinking, if we don't react, we will also be contaminated by the sinful reactions. Next, 12.
The saintly sages continued thinking, of course we are completely aware of his mischievous nature, yet nevertheless we enthroned Vena. If we cannot persuade King Vena to accept our advice, he will be condemned by the public and we will join them. Thus by our prowess we shall burn him to ashes.
So they already made a second plan, plan B. Okay, if he doesn't listen to a good counsel, okay, plan B is that, we will take severe action against him. Now, Prabhupada is writing at the end of the purport, under these circumstances, instead of actively taking part in politics, saintly persons should engage in chanting the Mahamantra Hare Krishna. By the grace of Lord Chaitanya, by simply chanting this Hare Krishna Mahamantra, the great populace can derive all benefits without political implications. We see this in the pastime of Srila Prabhupada. When Prabhupada went to America, that was a hippie time, right? And what was happening? All the youngsters, why did they turn to hippies? Because they were very upset with the government, the decisions of the government. So they revolted against the government. And they were trying out everything to become happy. But then Prabhupada went, he gave the Mahamantra, he took care of them, he guided them, and they became the most happiest people. So Prabhupada is saying again that, we should follow the process of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and spreading the Sankirtan movement, chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And this is the only way that we can install back the peace and prosperity in the society. Now the section changes. Now the sages have decided to go to Vena and give good counsel. 13.
The great sages, having thus decided, approached King Vena. Concealing their real anger, they pacified with him with sweet words and then spoke as follows.
14. The great sages said, "Dear king, we have come to give you good advice. Kindly hear us with great attention. By doing so, your duration of life and your opulent strength and reputation will increase." So, what they're saying that, please pay attention to what we are saying so that, you will have long duration of life, opulent strength and reputation. And this is, again, one more lesson for us that, when we listen to the devotees, it invokes blessings in our lives. When we take guidance, it's not just the guidance for that moment, but it's also invoking blessings and auspiciousness that will be bestowed upon us. But when we don't hear to them, then our inauspiciousness continues. Yeah. 15.
Those who live according to religious principles and who follow them by words, mind, body, and intelligence are elevated to the heavenly kingdom, which is devoid of all miseries. Being thus rid of the material influence, they achieve unlimited happiness in life.
So he said, what are the sages saying? That you perform religious principles by words, mind, body, and intelligence. Then you will be going to the heavenly kingdom and there will be no miseries. So they are telling, why you have to follow religious principles. If you remember the Brahma's prayers, after Brahma stealing the cowherd boys, and when he realizes his mistake, he comes back and he prays. And in one of the prayers, he says that, if someone is offering their body, mind, words in your service, being situated in their Varnashrama system, they can conquer even though you are unconquerable. So even Ajita becomes Jita when someone is offering everything with their mind, body, words, and intelligence. We don't need to do anything extra. We don't need to become renunciates. If we are a grihastha, we can remain grihastha but offer our mind, body, and words. If we are a brahmachari, we offer. If we are a vanaprastha or we are a sannyasi, according to our ashram, our current situation, wherever we are, if we are doing heartfully, offering to the Lord, the ajita becomes jita. The most unconquerable becomes conquered. So this is what exactly the sages are saying here. You offer your mind, body, and words and intelligence to the religious principles. Then there will be a prosperity in your life. 16.
The sages continued, O great hero, for this reason you should not be the cause of spoiling the spiritual life of the general populace. If their spiritual life is spoiled because of your activities, you will certainly fall down from your opulent and royal position.
So they're hitting the nail, What is our main concern? The main concern is do not spoil people's Krishna consciousness. Protect people's Krishna consciousness. This is your responsibility of being the king. And in Bhagavatam 5th canto, Rishabhadev, in the teachings in the 5th canto, Rishabhadev teaches that, we cannot take responsibility unless we know that we can deliver the dependents. One is the king, the father, mother, the role of a spiritual master, and the role of a husband. Because these are very responsible positions, because there will be always a dependent under them. The spiritual master has the dependence of the disciples. The king has the citizens. The father has the children. The mother has the children. And then the husband has the dependent of his wife. So when someone is preparing to take a responsible position, then we have to be conversant with the religious principles. How do I help them in their Krishna consciousness? 17. Anyone?
The saintly person continued, when the king protects the citizens from the disturbance of mischievous ministers as well as from the thieves and rogues, he can, by the virtue of such pious activities, accept taxes given by his subjects. Thus, a pious king can certainly enjoy himself in this world as well as in the life after death.
So they're giving some incentives to King Vena, saying that, okay, if you do everything nicely, you protect your citizens, you can take taxes, no problem. You're eligible to collect some taxes. And then also you become pious, you don't get any sin. 18. We will finish up to verse 22. Maybe we will go a little bit over time, if you don't mind, so that, we will finish one section. From 23 onwards, we will do next time. Is it okay? 4 more verses. Sorry for that. 18.
The king is supposed to be pious, in whose state and cities the general populace strictly observes a system of 8 social orders of Varna and Ashram, and where all citizens engage in worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead by their particular occupations.
Can you think of a verse from the Bhagavatam 1st canto? It's a very famous verse. Haritoshanam. You remember that? What was the Haritoshanam talking about?
Siddhi Haritoshanam.
But you can look into the verse and tell me what does it says completely.
Mataji Sata Pumbir Dvaja Shreshta Varna Ashram Vibhavasha Swanutishthasya Dharmasya Samsiddhir Haritoshanam.
Can you read the translation, Mataji?
O best among the twice born, it is therefore concluded that the highest perfection one can achieve by discharging the duties prescribed for one's own occupation according to caste divisions and orders of life is to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
So but thank you, Mataji, for reading that out. Yeah,
Thank you,
any
Mataji.
Varna ashrama, the perfection of any Varna or ashram comes only when it is redirected towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's what again and again Prabhupada is quoting in this verse, saying 529, 1846, that, How can one become perfect in life? Only if it's directed towards the worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the sages are telling the duties of King Vena. 19.
O noble one, if the king sees that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the original cause of the cosmic manifestation, and the supersoul within everyone is worshipped, the Lord will be satisfied.
Yeah, so what are the sages saying? That, raise yourself to Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma situation, How can you raise that? Only when you understand that the Supreme Lord is the controller. Supreme Lord is in charge, not you. You're just a servant. And then when you understand how the Lord is present in every living entity, as a super soul, that time the Lord will be pleased and you will also be satisfied. Then we have 20.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead is worshipped by the great demigods who are controller of universal affairs. When he is satisfied, nothing is impossible to achieve. For this reason, all the demigods, presiding deity of different planets, as well as the inhabitants of their planets, take great pleasure in offering all kind of paraphernalia for his worship.
Now, again, the sages are telling that, you take, to the path of devotional service. Then even the demigods will favor upon you. Then Prabhupada is writing, human society, however, has artificially created a type of civilization which makes one forgetful of his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Modern society even enables one to forget the Supreme Personality of Godhead's grace and mercy. Consequently, modern civilized man is always unhappy and in need of things. People do not know that the ultimate goal of life is to approach Lord Vishnu and satisfy him. They have taken this materialistic way of life as everything and has become captivated by materialistic activities. Indeed, their leaders are always encouraging them to follow this path, and the general populace, being ignorant of the laws of God, are following their blind leaders down the path of unhappiness. In order to rectify this world situation, all people should be trained in Krishna consciousness and act in accordance with the Varnashrama system. The state should also see that people are engaged in satisfying the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the prime duty of the state. Krishna conscious movement has started to convince the general populace to adopt the best process by which to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead and thus solve all the problems. So what is the best solution? What is the peace formula? Is to recognize the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And only by centering our lives around Krishna, that will only solve the problems. 529, Krishna says this is the peace formula. When someone recognizes, I am the Bhuktaram, I am the Yagnatapasam, I am the ultimate maintainer, I am the Suhrid, then only someone will attain peace. And if you're not peaceful, how can you be happy? Right? 21. 21.
Dear King, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, along with the predominating deities, is the enjoyer of the result of all sacrifices in all planets. The Supreme Lord is the sum total of the three Vedas, the honor of everything, and the ultimate goal of all austerity. Therefore, your countrymen should engage in performing various sacrifices for their elevation. Indeed, you should always direct them toward the offering of sacrifices.
So they're again highlighting that, what is your duty towards the citizens? That, you should lead people in Krishna consciousness. 22nd, we'll stop here. Last one.
When all the Brahmanas engaged in performing sacrifices in your kingdom, all the demigods who are plenary expansions of the Lord will be very much satisfied by their activities and will give you your desired result. Therefore, O hero, do not stop the sacrificial performances. If you stop them, you will disrespect the demigods.
So again and again, they're pleading King Vena that, please somehow or the other change your ways and means. Now we will see 23rd onwards to 29. King Vena will be rejecting all the points that have presented by the sages. And then we will see his arrogance and then the consequences of that arrogance. So we will continue in the next class. Sorry for going over time. If there are any quick questions or comments or corrections, I'll be very happy to hear from you all. And please do forgive me for my shortcomings too. Any questions, comments? Otherwise, we can close here.
Thank you so much, Mataji, for going into depth and explaining everything very nicely.
No, thank you for tolerating and, hearing out from me. You all helped me, and I hope that we can all develop some eagerness to hear and chant. So let's do a small activity before you all go. So until the next time we will meet, we know what are our obstacles in hearing and chanting, and we came across some solutions, right? So every time from today onwards, every time you have an obstacle of hearing or chanting in your hearing and chanting, apply your solution very mindfully. Then see how do you feel, how do you feel your Krishna consciousness is this week, right? Until we meet next time. Is okay? We can do this activity. Yes, we will work for our eagerness to develop for more Krishna Katha. Thank you again. Please do forgive me for my shortcomings. Vanchakalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. See you all next week. Hare Krishna.